Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening and joining us to learn a little bit about IXL and how you can support your child or your children at home. I'm Kathy Gavin, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Assessment and Family Engagement here in District 123. And joining me this evening is my colleague.
I'm Margaret Nugent, and I am the District Math Curriculum Facilitator for grades K through 8.
And Margaret and I, along with our instructional coaches in District 123, were really excited to put together this presentation tonight. And so we hope that you're going to learn a lot about IXL and how you can support your children at home. We have built in time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions. So as we go through the presentation, and if things come to mind, you might want to just jot down your questions and we'll be happy to take those at the end. We are recording this Google Meet, so the presentation itself and the recording will be housed on our district website so that you can access it at a later time at your convenience if you'd like to go back and review anything. It may be helpful. Is there a login for IXL for District 123 that we can use for our children? Yes. So we're just about to get you all ready to get loaded onto IXL right now. So if you have easy access to your child's Chromebook, have your child, or if you want to go ahead and log into their Chromebook, it's not necessary because we have screenshots and you can follow along with us. But if you do have access to your child's Chromebook, please go ahead and have either your child or yourself log in. And I'm going to turn it over to Margaret now, and she's going to walk us through how to access IXL on your Chromebook.
Okay, so this is the home screen on your child's computer. This is what it will look like. There's one for K5 and a different one for 6-8. To access this, once you go into their Chromebook, just up here in the home button, you'll get access to the student portal. Okay, and then for both K5 and 6-8, you're going to go to IXL through this app here. This Clever is what we want to go to. So I'm going to choose Clever. Now from Clever, you'll access IXL. So I'm going to go ahead.
And I do notice that someone, Margaret, not to interrupt, had a question about their child was in kindergarten and has an iPad instead of a Chromebook. So they don't have their iPads at home. It would be the same process going in through Clever, correct, Margaret?
Right. We always access IXL. So if you go to the home button, you'll be brought to your portal and then go through Clever and then IXL.
Okay, so what is IXL? IXL is what's known as a personalized online platform, and it's designed to meet the unique needs of each individual child. Sometimes it's referred to as what's known as an adaptive platform, and what that means is that it adjusts the program based on how the students are answering questions. So if a child goes through and is continuing to answer questions correctly, the program will adjust and provide the child with more challenging questions. If the child is struggling, the program has the ability to provide just-in-time support, and then it will adjust the level of the question complexity accordingly. So why did District 123 choose IXL in the first place? Well, we really liked that personalized component of this platform and its ability to be accessed in Spanish, as well as to be accessed 24/7. So it serves as like a personal tutor for children at home. It is aligned to state standards, and the state standards form the basis of our curriculum in the core content areas of math and science and English and social studies. We really also like, from a teacher's standpoint or viewpoint, the flexibility that this program offers. And so Margaret, a little bit later on this evening, is going to go through some of the different features IXL has, and our teachers have the ability to choose how best to infuse IXL into their lessons. I noticed somebody raised their hand and had a question. We are hoping to save questions for the end, but right now, if someone has an immediate question, we'll go ahead and take that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that was me. My son is in kindergarten and does have an iPad, but they don't come home with them. So am I able to log from my home computer onto it?
Yes, you could go into IXL.com. You would need to log in into an account. So it might be best, Mrs. Lanigan, if you just go ahead and follow along with us.
Okay.
And then you can always access this presentation through the hub at a later time. And then you can go back when you could, have like an individual account on your computer.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So as I was saying, IXL offers a lot of flexible features, and I think the teachers really enjoy the opportunity it affords them to use it in a way that will best service the needs of the students. It really helps to build student confidence. Those students that I've seen working through IXL really have a lot of agency over their and ownership over their learning and enjoy working through the program. And finally, we really like the analytics that it affords not only students, but teachers and you at home to track students' progress over time. And we're going to share the analytics feature with all of you a little bit later on this evening. So this tool was developed back in 2007, and it's trusted by some of the top 100 districts across the country. In fact, it's used by over 14 million students across the country and by 900,000 teachers. And Margaret is going to share with us in just a moment, your students have access to over 8,500 skills in the core content areas of math, English, science, and social studies. IXL also comes with a strong research-based component. In fact, research was conducted in over 66,000 schools across 34 states in this country. And their research is pretty compelling that schools that use IXL outperform schools that don't use IXL on standardized tests. In fact, IXL's schools score as much as 15 percentile points higher than non-IXL students in or schools in math, and score as much as 17 percentile points higher in ELA as opposed to non-IXL schools. There's also a diagnostic component that we're going to get into in a few moments, and the diagnostic tool helps predict student success on NWEA MAP. So that might be a feature you at home might want to access to help students' performance on the MAP test. And finally, IXL can benefit all students. Some teachers use the platform to help shore up skills that students should have mastered. And some teachers also use IXL to provide students with challenge once they've mastered the grade level skills that they're instructing in a particular lesson or unit of study. So it provides remediation as well as enrichment. So you may have heard your child or your child's teacher talk about something called a SMART score. And the SMART score is really the metric that IXL uses to gauge students' progress through the program. It's not really a percentage, although it is on a scale of 1 to say 100. But what that score represents is it takes into account the difficulty level of the questions that the students are answering, the accuracy with which the students are answering, and the consistency with which they answer a particular set of questions related to a skill. So the big takeaway from this SMART score is that you should aim for, or the goal is, a SMART score of 80. Because according to the research from IXL, a SMART score of 80 means that a student is proficient with the skill. If the student wants to persist and try to get a little bit higher, they can go towards a SMART score of 90 or 100, 100 meaning that they've truly mastered the skill. But all the research that I just shared with you is based on a SMART score of 80. So that's really the gold standard by which we're encouraging students to get to. Also, I would call your attention to the fact that it's okay to take breaks either within one sitting of working on IXL, or take breaks, between days or weeks. IXL stores all of the students' data. So again, this is a great graphic that shows 80 is the target that we're working towards. And we encourage students, based on the research from IXL, to spend about 15 to 20 minutes a day on IXL in order to see the benefits from this program. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Margaret, who's going to share with all of us a little bit about the different ways IXL is implemented in District 123. Margaret?
All right. All right, so our first bullet point here is that IXL has skill plans, and they can be aligned to the curriculum as well as the Common Core standards. For example, with math, K5, we use Eureka Math, and so there are skill plans aligned to the modules of Eureka Math. In 6-8, we use CMP3, and there are skill plans in IXL aligned to the units in CMP3 as well. Next is teachers can assign individual skill activities. An example of that is third grades, they might be working on putting fractions on a number line. So the teacher can assign that particular skill for the students to work on. And I'll show you where that will come up. That comes up under teacher recommendations. IXL also offers a way for differentiated instruction, for additional support, as well as enrichment. So we'll go back to the example of the number line. So if the third grade teacher is working towards putting fractions on a number line, there might need students that need support with putting whole numbers on a number line. So the teacher can assign that skill. We're still working on number lines, but maybe someone, a group needs more practice just putting whole numbers on a line and on a number line, and then they can move to fractions on a number line. There's also room for enrichment. When students are successful with those fractions on a number line, there's an opportunity to assign skills that maybe have them work with fractions greater than 1 or more complex denominators. And lastly, the diagnostic assessment for individualized learning for all. That's a feature with IXL, and I will walk you through how everyone is able to use that for math and ELA.
So again, there's a lot of information in this presentation. So, a big takeaway so far is just to really reiterate that in order to maximize IXL's benefits, we recommend daily practice, about 15 to 20 minutes a day. No more than that, because we don't want our students to be frustrated. And then you at home might want to consider rotating practice days, like to have one day for ELA, one day for math, etc. And as I mentioned before, there are a lot of flexible features with this platform. And so Margaret is going to take us through each of these different ways that your child's teacher may be using IXL to help the students in their classroom. To start off with grade level skills. So as I said, IXL is aligned to the state's standards, which form the basis of our curriculum. And there are over 8,500 skills that students can practice with IXL. So Margaret is going to share with us how you can find the skills per grade level on IXL.
Okay, so I'm going to go to log into IXL.
And Randy LaJoya is a fictitious student, just so everyone knows.
Okay, I'm usually I'm sorry. Let's see, we don't want Fluency Tutor. Let me go back and try this again. I'm not sure why. Oh, because I clicked the wrong choice. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right, so here we are in IXL. The default will come to recommendations. I'm going to start over here with this green bar at the top, and this will look the same for all students. I'm going to start with learning. And when we talked about those grade level skills, I'm going to go right down. I'll just start with math here. Choose skills. Now, this is a very comprehensive list. This is not a plan, but it's a very comprehensive list of all the skills that we have for fourth grade. And you can see how extensive this is. To choose the grade levels, these are all along the side. So right now I'm in fourth grade. We go to first grade. You'll notice that there's ES next to many of the major skills of the grade level, and that means there's a Spanish option. So I'm just going to open one of these. In K2, their skills, the directions are read out loud. Students have the opportunity to read as well as click on the option to read out loud. So they can click on this microphone. Okay. You can also choose to have it read in Spanish and the questions answered in Spanish as well. All right. And so language arts. Again, this is set up a comprehensive list of skills at each grade level. They're grouped by reading strategies. We have writing strategies, vocabulary, and then grammar and mechanics.
So that list is very overwhelming. It looks very overwhelming for any grade level. What we would really recommend is that, let's say you're with your child tomorrow night and you say, let's get on IXL together. And we would recommend that you do not start with the first skill and start practicing all the way down this big comprehensive list. I don't think that would be the best use of your time. So Margaret's going to share with us some ideas about how you could use IXL at home to help support your students. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this idea of recommendations. And when Margaret first went on to our fictitious students platform landing page, we saw recommendations. So IXL automatically populates recommendations for your child based on what they've been working on either in class or what they've been working on recently, or your child's teacher may have suggested certain skills for them to work on based on what they're learning on in class. So Margaret?
Sure. So this is the recommendations for the students. Over here, this is the suggested skills by your teacher. And earlier I'd given the example of if you're working on fractions on a number line and the teacher assigned it, you would find that skill here. So those would be starred. So your list is accessed here. Then you can see where these skills come from. This is from the diagnostic arena. So this was based on how the student answered questions. You can see that under recommendations, it's a mix of both ELA and math. And so this is just populated things to work on. This Greek word was something that was practiced today and could use more practice. All right, so again, that's under the Learning tab, but I went over to recommendations. Next, I'm going to bring you over to skill plans. All right, so under skill plans, you have the option of math, language arts, or recommendations. When it says pin skill plans, this is pinned from child's teacher. So they pinned a math adventures, a 5th grade Eureka math. So I'm just going to open this.
And Eureka is the curricular resource that we use right now at the K-5 level. And so IXL has alignment to several different curricular resources. And so that was another reason why we chose this platform, because it is aligned to a lot of the resources that we use.
So right now they would be in module 4 if they are working on homework or want additional practice with anything they're learning in school. These skills will be related to this module. We have the same CMP3 for middle school, also has skill plans that can be assigned. All right, so then we'll go back.
And there is a question about, will the tabs have different drop-down menus based on the grade level? Great question. It's pretty consistent from grade level to grade level.
What will vary is the skill plans.
Correct.
Okay, so that was Eureka Math. I'm going to bring you down here to this personal map growth. All right, there's one over here for reading. That's general map skills for grades 2 to 5. But IXL also allows us to create individual plans. So I'm going to go into, we'll do reading here. Okay, so you're able to input information based on the student's map scores. So in some cases, the teacher has entered it. Parents, when you get that map report back, you're able to enter the scores. The student's able to enter the scores. So we'll go down to reading. Had the general RIT score here of 210. We'll say that was in the fall, and now we have our new report and we're back up here to 216. We can enter it here. They do give you the breakdown of your scores, so you can enter, when you get that map report, individual subskills, but it's optional. Same up here with math. So then when you go to view your plan, you're going to be given skills that match the RIT score of any particular area. So it starts out with math here. So operations and algebraic thinking, this was the student's RIT score, and these are the related skills to work on. Numbers and operations, we have our RIT score here. I'm going to scroll down to the end here. Okay, so this last category was geometry. They're given some skills here to work on. But say this is based on winter map scores and your child's been working and they're ready to move beyond these. Down here is an option that says you're ready for more. So they left off in this RIT band of 211 to 214 and ready for more, and it opens up the rest of those skills.
Margaret, we do have another question, kind of tangential a little bit, but let's say a kindergarten parent signs in to their computer and creates their own IXL account. Is there a way that they can access then their student's IXL account to see recommendations or skill plans that the teacher may have suggested?
I know the student would have to log in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about the answer to that question.
Yeah, Mr. Garcia, we can try to research that, and we can give you our contact information. Any questions that we're not able to answer, we'll give you our email addresses at the end of this, and then you can feel free to email us, and then we will research your questions here. But that's a great question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just trying to.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Okay, so here, that's where the skill plans were. We went through the MAP plans. The next area we wanted to talk about is the assessment, the diagnostic.
Right. So, we mentioned this diagnostic capability, and not all of our teachers have chosen to administer the diagnostic assessment. It's not required, but that might be something that you would want to do at home with your children. So, Margaret, would you like to talk us through how
Sure.
parents can get their child onto a diagnostic assessment?
All right, so these three up here in this green banner, we went through learning with the skill plans, and everyone has access to this assessment. Okay, and so this is truly personalized because it's based on questions that their child is answering. It gives you skills catered based on how they are responding to the question, what information, what support they need. All right, so the diagnostic arena is, IXL calls it an arena. And when you step in here, you are going to be given questions that's going to help IXL pinpoint the right level of skills. So if we step into the arena, this is the diagnostic area. So students get to choose a question. I'm going to bring you to this very kind of hard to see. It's light blue on light blue, but you have the option once you are in the arena to just do math or just do language arts. So if we went to a language arts, which question would I like to start? All right, so I chose this one. I'm just going to choose the first one here and submit. So it says not quite, we'll make sure to work on that later. So it's using that information to pinpoint where the student should go to for their writing area. All right, now I'm going to go back to see the levels. Okay, so this is, I'm now out of the arena, but I can look at the skills that have been populated based on how the student did in the arena. Okay, so the number system IXL uses are correlated with the grade level. So this student would be about 5th grade, working at about 5th grade level. So you see the different categories based on how the student answered questions in fractions back when they were in the arena. They have one skill that they suggested to work on. Same with these other categories, skills here and there. If we go down to language arts, there's 3 areas that have recommended skills. And you see this one right here under writing strategies. It says keep diagnosing to reveal your score. And that will happen with all the skills. So say we went over to vocabulary. If we worked on this skill and we were successful, we reached a SMART score of 80, then that category does not have another skill to recommend. It will say keep diagnosing to reveal your score. So IXL recommends about 15 questions per week in the diagnostic arena to get the right fit of skills. And you'll see now in reading, there's a range because there hasn't been a lot of questions answered in language arts. If you go up to math, it's a tighter fit. You're given a number because based on how the questions were answered, IXL was better able to pinpoint a level for that student to work on. All right, so I'm going to go into geometry here. All right, there's 2 skills recommended. If I want to see the second skill, I'm going to go right here and click try it. Now, what's interesting is this level is 570, and I know that working with nets is a 6th grade skill. So how we grow our levels, this isn't something that the student would have been exposed to in the classroom because it's not part of the 5th grade curriculum, it's part of the 6th grade curriculum. It doesn't mean that a 5th grader isn't ready to go there. So they've never seen nets, not familiar with what this word is. Here's the options for the student to do some self-teaching. All right, so there's learn with an example, and that comes up on all the IXL skills for the first time they go into the skill. So I can open it up. It tells you what a net is. There's an option here for more lessons on nets. There's also a video. So you can learn about nets by watching this video. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go back to practice. All right, now you'll see my SMART score is 0, and we'll just answer a few questions so we can watch that SMART score go up and then see it come down as well. So what figure will this net make? We have a cube. Now I'm up to 15. All right, now I have this rectangular prism. I'm up to 28. Okay, so now for this pyramid, we're going to purposely choose the incorrect answer. So I'm going to choose this prism here, submit. My SMART score dropped to 26. I'm going to give an explanation of why this was incorrect. And then we say, got it. And then we can go back to answering questions. And then you have a chance to get your SMART score up. It doesn't stop at 80. As Dr. Gavin said, it'll go all the way to 100. But once the child reaches 80, that's proficient and they can move and go into another skill. So that was under assessment.
And the diagnostic test takes about 45 minutes, right? Initially,
yeah, they recommend, IXL recommends 45 minutes.
Right. And then after that, to try to aim for how many questions each week?
We said
10
about
to 15?
and that's between both ELA and math.
Mm.
Oh, one other thing, if we go into the arena, just want to show you this here. Okay, there's always this option. We have two let's switch math. I'm more familiar with that. Okay, so I have these fractions. Maybe I haven't been exposed to unlike denominators. So I can click right over here. I don't know this yet, rather than guess, because I'm trying to get IXL to personalize for me. And I don't know how to do unlike denominators. I'm going to click, I don't know this. And then it just says, okay, we'll be sure to work on that later. So that is an option with every skill, and that'll help the diagnostic pinpoint right where your child is. And some classroom teachers have set this up and some haven't. Either way, you are all welcome to go into this arena and work on it.
And, circling back to Mr. Garcia's question, and maybe we have some other kindergarten parents here with us. I put in the chat, if you go to IXL.com and you create your own account, IXL.com/sign-in will allow you then to put in your child's username and password. And so if your child doesn't know it, you can always reach out to your child's teacher, and then you'll be able to access any recommendations and data on your child. So I was able to find that answer. So hopefully that will be helpful. So I think we're into analytics next.
Okay. So back to this top bar, we've had learning, we've had assessment, which is the diagnostic, and now we have analytics. There is much information from IXL. It's just pretty amazing. For parents, I think the ones you will find most useful are going to be this usage area and this summary area. So we'll start with the usage. Okay, this allows you to see how many questions were answered, the practice, and you can change with the range. Maybe you saw your child working on IXL for 20 minutes and you want to go, look at this with your child and, talk about the successes and challenges. So you can see this by this usage detail. It gives you information. You can set it to the week. You can set it to since the start of the school year. If we go to trouble spots, this gives you an idea of areas that were challenging. So I'll change the range to this month. And some trouble with some graphs here, some tallies and line plots. All right, so you get a chance to see the type of questions that were challenging. Okay, that's under trouble spots. Scores. This gives you some additional information by skills that were practiced. It outlines what specific ones were there. It has to be highlighted. Yeah, you can see the numbers that are going to come up when that particular skill was practiced. There's question types. Sorry, it's going a little bit slow. These skill summaries are going to be linked to a skill plan. And then progress. You can see what skills were worked on, what the SMART scores were. This one we just ended off where we did the sample with the prisms and pyramids will show us that how long we spent on that skill and what type of SMART score we got to. And these are all a SMART score of 80 for most of them. But again, that's why we had that 20 minutes on there. Sometimes it can be very frustrating if the student is wanting to get to 80 and it may not happen in a 20-minute setting. So then 20 minutes is enough and try that another day. And then lastly is the summary. And then you get a report. Again, you can choose this month, you can choose this week, and you get more information about questions, what was answered. You can see the skill list, areas to focus on, and then some tips from IXL for supporting learning at home.
I really like the fact that you can download an app. So there's lots of ways to access the program. So let's say the child doesn't have their Chromebook at home or their iPad at home, and you're on vacation or in the car, they can work on it through an app as well. And another unique feature at the K-5 level is the fact that it has games. So we all know how much our students love to engage in online games and such. So IXL does have games that are aligned to different skills. And I think, Margaret, you're going to share with us how to get to those.
Right. So to get to the games, you'll go to the Learning tab. And then for both ELA and math, choose games. So the games are available pre-K to 5. So while they're games, they are working on skills. So you're working on contractions or nouns and verbs. And so there's little games. The games are not part of a skill plan, but you are working on, ELA skills and math skills when you're playing these games. So that's accessed under learning.
And then finally, as we're looking forward towards spring break in the next couple of months and then eventually summer break, IXL has great resources that you can access over extended breaks to keep your child engaged in learning. And Margaret's going to share with us how to get to that.
So I went to learning, and then I went over here to skill plans. And then there's this area here called Spotlight. And those are not pinned by a teacher. Those are available to anyone. And right now, because it's winter, they have winter adventures for math, winter adventures for language arts. So it's a list of skills. It's a list of skills that have been probably taught up to this point midway through their year. So this is another way. And they'll have, once it's summer, you'll be able to access that from the same way, going to IXL plans, skill plans, and you'll go to this Spotlight. They have weekly boosts, just a mix of skills to work on. Each week is a little different, so.
And I think we have a slide, Margaret, showing the summer learning plan.
Yes.
Because they have these things called summer boosts and then summer adventures. So the boosts are designed to go back to the grade level that they just finished and shore up some of those power skills, those high priority skills that they need to be successful going on to the next grade. And then they also have these summer adventures that kind of give them access to things they're going to be seeing in the grade they're going to be going into in the fall. So that's kind of an exciting way to leverage this platform over the summer to keep your students engaged.
I think this next, here's some of the summer skill plans that you'll see.
Right. And those adventures are designed around a theme for each day. So that's kind of neat. And then finally, we've linked on this slide, just some resources that would be available for you to explore. And then if you go to IXL.com/inspiration/learning hub, and Margaret's going to go there for us. This is a great tool. It's kind of like a one-stop shopping for at home. Gives you lots of different resources, places to go to answer, questions, videos. There's a family guide to getting started. Different ways to incentivize, to get your children excited about using IXL. Gives you more, in-depth information about the diagnostic tool that Margaret was explaining, etc.
Right. There's much information here, and yeah.
And there's, a place also where you could go and ask questions. So,
and at the bottom of IXL, there's a help center, there's user guides with information on the diagnostic, on the skill plans, on those summer paths. So there is much help available through IXL.
So we have someone asking about, can we share those links in the chat, please? Yes. It was IXL.
Where did I go? Was
Inspiration Learning Hub. This is probably
you're putting it in the okay.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so we have shared a lot of information. I've been talking for 45 minutes. So we're going to pause here and see what questions you have for us. And you can feel free to unmute. Mrs. Carrera Gutierrez, please.
Yes, thank you. This was really informative. I've been following along as we go. I had a question in regard to the learning tab. My daughter's in first grade, and I was looking at the learning tabs, and I see that on your end, it shows like grades one, maybe kindergarten through fifth grade, but mine shows letters, and so it's starting from letter A all the way through N2, and I'm wondering if that's different.
I know what that is some teachers find your letter like P would be A, K, like they're correlated with the grade levels.
Mm-hmm.
What happens
Okay.
sometimes in the classroom is there becomes competition. Oh, I'm working at third grade scale, I'm at fourth grade scale. So IXL has that options where they take away the numbers, so
Okay.
they're not equating it with grade levels, and they replace them with letters.
Gotcha. Okay. So would you recommend then for someone in first grade, if I am going through the math or the language arts modules, to start towards the beginning of the alphabet?
Yes, towards the beginning of the alphabet, but you may want to take advantage of that, assessment opportunity or skill plans.
Okay.
Because if you're working on the assessment, it's going to personalize the skills for her,
Sure.
independent of what letter or.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. For example, that PRISM one that we saw didn't show up on the 7th grade math. That was part of a plan from another series. So that populated on this student's skill based on the work in the diagnostic arena.
So in that example, you chose the incorrect answer, right?
Right.
Let's say, for example, just by chance, right, the student selects the correct answer. Does it continue to provide further questions in that area?
It does.
Okay.
So if it diagnosed you based on a guess, you're going to get a skill, and as you are answering questions and the SMART score goes down, they're going to give you additional skills to work on.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And your level can go back down. It can go up and it can go back down again.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the same too. You want to, just like anything, you don't want them to have a calculator because they're working on multiplication and subtraction. But to the kid, it might make sense to have a calculator, but those are the kind of things you want to watch for.
Other questions? I know there was a question about the parents' guide. Mr. Garcia, go ahead, please.
Yeah, the question was just more around the kindergarten, because my son, he has an iPad, but he's not allowed to bring that home every day.
Right.
And he wants to use. He's been asking me about IXL, and I just didn't know how to log in. So that's just more of the question around that, is if we don't have a Chromebook, how would we access IXL through the D123?
Right.
So that IXL.com/sign-in that I put in the chat, if your child doesn't know their username and password, I would just reach out to your child's teacher and tell them, that you're interested in working on IXL at home, and they can get you access to that.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm so excited that your child is excited. Your son is excited. That's great.
Thank you.
Other questions we can help with? Margaret, do you want to put up our email addresses there, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got another question for you.
I'm glad. Okay, awesome. Please.
Will the login and password continue on, or it'll just stay indefinitely?
Yeah, I believe those passwords, they're unchanged once the child is registered.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the same password they'll use over the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Well, certainly, please, feel free to access that Learning Hub, because it has a plethora of resources. You have our contact information. So, if a question comes up, and you can't get the answer through the Learning Hub, you can feel free to reach out to either Margaret or myself. We thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join us. We hope that this has been helpful, and we wish you a lot of success in working with your child on IXL. And, you know, as I said, not only does the research, but we believe that it's really a powerful tool to help accelerate students' learning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm